Welcome to Clay Mastermind with Don Grant. Mental excellence and industry insights. Brought to you by the Clay Lab, your ultimate podcast for mastering the mental game of clay shooting and gaining exclusive insights from the top minds in the industry. Join us as we dive into the strategies of elite athletes, uncover the secrets to peak performance, and share powerful techniques to enhance your shooting skill. Plus, get behind-the-scenes access to the leaders and innovators who are shaping the future of the clay shooting industry. Get ready to elevate your game, sharpen your focus, and gain insider knowledge from the best in the business. Let's get started. Here's your host, Don Grant.
All right, folks, welcome to Clay Mastermind with Don Grant. I appreciate you being here and listening, and also for all of the great compliments. Especially, I just saw a bunch of people at Jack Link's. The season has kicked off, and I really am grateful that you came over and complimented the podcast and complimented my approach and the things that you're learning, and were asking me for more. So I love that, and I'm glad to have had and continue to have the impact on the industry. Today I have Isobel Ziluca, a fierce woman shooter, among many other things. Thank you for being here, Isabelle.
Thank you, Don.
Yeah, so I always like for the person I'm interviewing to kind of give a little bit of an overview and some highlights. That way the listener can be like, wow, that's going to be a cool podcast to listen to. And so who are you and what are some of your highlights?
Well, let's see. I'm 66, so that's that good old super vet, and enjoying that. I'm, grateful to be there. Basically in life, I grew up an Air Force brat, moved all over the world. My father was in Germany, Greece. I was born in Montana. But I've lived in Virginia, pretty much the most of any state, New England, Virginia, that whole area. I was a real estate agent for 40 years. I think my sort of Air Force brat background helped me with that. People need to know when they're moving to a new area. There's a lot of things involved for their family. Raised two incredible daughters who did all the sports. I myself rode horses all my life since I was little, 6 years old, showed ponies, went on to a pretty high level of 3-day eventing, won quite a few Area 8 training champion, big stuff, honestly. But then, of course, you're out of college and you got to get a job. And that's when I got my real estate license, but I continued with horses. Fox hunted. I whipped into a local hunt, Middleburg hunt. My daughters did so many sports, tennis, lacrosse, went on into rugby. My daughter went to a World Cup level with U.S. rugby. And my younger daughter was, a downhill ski racer, phenomenal, second on the East Coast at one point, competitive, I would say.
It sounds like, and pretty intense. Those are definitely not like ballerina or something.
Go all the way. But so now,
tough chicks.
My older daughter's head coach for women's rugby at Princeton, so I get to see her a lot, which is great. My younger daughter went on to Norwich University and ROTC, and is in flight school in Fort Novosel and flying Chinooks for the Army. So pretty intense there. So
you've raised some tough chicks.
Yeah, well, and that was it. They sort of left home. What was I going to do? I didn't have horses. My parents had sold the farm. And I love being outdoors. I was starting to shoot a little bit, just getting ready for dove hunting. And I kind of like the clays a lot better than sitting there in the heat waiting for the dove to fly. And I'd like, get me back to the clay course,
Yeah.
So started doing those fundraiser shoots, had a lot of fun and was pretty, successful for an old lady. And when I was like 52. So I'd never picked a gun up till I was over 50. Never in my life.
Well, you said fox hunting and all that. I just assumed that was earlier in life.
No, that's with, chase, pursuit the fox with hounds. And so you don't, I got into a little bit of hunting at that time, certainly deer hunting, the dove, a little bit of just fun, squirrel and rabbit. But I really enjoyed clay shooting, got a little more intense. Actually, even before I did a lot of competing, I got my NSCA instructors level one.
Okay.
And just started, helping out people, turned into a lesson program with some juniors and ladies and gentlemen getting ready for hunting, bird hunting. So it was a lot of fun. It improved me as a shooter.
Mm-hmm.
Teaching
Uh-huh.
does. And then I went on a course, went to the best of the best and started lessons with Anthony, which I still maintain today. Every couple months, I love going there for a lesson. Always gives me great advice and things to work on. And he's
Uh-huh.
very encouraging. I always sort of worry, what's he think of this, old lady up here trying to hit these targets when he works with, the cream of the crop. But
No, it works with everybody.
he doesn't do that. He's very encouraging, makes you feel like you can do it, which is what's important.
I love that. That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
so what got you into deciding to even try the clay shooting?
Well, it was just that, getting ready for the dove hunting. We had a little hand pole you sit on, you could throw to, and played little games with that, betting games. And I was good. I was right there with the guys. So going to a couple places for those shoots um, became travel, which is part of me, which I grew up with. And then
Uh-huh.
you just start traveling more and more and going to different places. And I loved that, seeing different parts of the country. It was always funny when it first started. It was like, it's 3:00. I know I got to be somewhere because,
Yeah.
school for my daughters are 12 years apart. So it was like 24 years of pick up at
Oh, wow.
school or practice. And so it was my time, which really became a focus for me.
Where are you living now? Where's your base?
Yeah, in Upperville, Virginia. Um,
Okay.
and I'm a member at Shenandoah Gun Club near Stanton and love it. It's probably the prettiest little club on the East Coast, truly. You need
Oh,
you and Joe both. Just a stunning place, great group of guys. And meet my friends there. Carrie Matheny and I shoot there a lot. Rusty Pride and a couple other friends, Linda, and so on and so forth. We have a lot of fun.
nice. So, being a woman shooter in what is mostly a predominant male sport, I would love, your insight and your, some of your experiences. There's tons of women shooters out there that would probably love to hear some things from you that they can relate to. And
Well, for me, I started organizing a few events. There was the Virginia State Ladies series that I did one year. And I always hear from these two ladies who joined up then, NSCA, and they're still shooting. And they're like, thank you. We wouldn't have done it, And I, of course, encouraged them. They were from Virginia, obviously. And, that was one year just for the ladies. And we fleshed it out into all the concurrents for the ladies age-wise. And then I did for 4 or 5 years a big fundraiser shoot for the Boys and Girls Club and probably raised, I know we raised over 250,000 for them in that time.
oh,
Uh,
wow, that's nice.
yeah, it was for a local Boys and Girls Club. And I had to laugh because when I was in college, I sponsored kids which was then just the boys club. And I
Mm-hmm.
felt very important giving my $25 a year as a donation. But one year I was like, you have girls here. Why aren't you the Boys and Girls Club? And this is, let's see, I graduated in 1980. So they wrote back a letter and said, no, we're just the boys club. We do, help girls as well. And I'm like, what? You're not getting my $25 a year. So I had to laugh when this came back to me to say, would you help with this shoot? And it turned into a great event. Rick Hemingway came up to set the course. We raised,
Nice.
just a 1-day 100-bird event, but we raised a lot of money, a lot of sponsorship. So that got me to notice that there wasn't a lot out there for the ladies. So I always made sure, the women got the same gift, the same big, we had a Yeti cooler or whatever. They always got the same as the HOA. And, I guess looking at the numbers, maybe that's my real estate background. I was really noticing that not only were the older ladies kind of left out, but just in general, the payouts for the ladies are pretty unequal. It would be my best description. For instance, at the main event at Quail Creek, which I know is the second largest event of the year. They're paying $20,000 HOA. And granted, I'll give them credit for the concurrence. The ladies got the best payout of all the concurrents. $2,000, $1,800. And I love our ladies, Shelby, Desi, Gianna, Kirsten Sells. And of course, Karen, they're all just amazing. But as a lady shooter, I'm thrown right in there with them. Now, I've sort of been saying, or maybe on my little soapbox, about having a veteran ladies all-American team. I think it's time. Ladies in the shooting sports is the fastest rising demographic. You hear it in all the shooting industry. So we need to be paid attention to a little bit. I think, yes, we're getting the young ladies, but like me, there are a lot of ladies starting later in life. Kids have, become independent and don't need the day-to-day care, so they're able to go off and shoot. Look what Dior's doing. So much out there like that. That NSCA really doesn't do a lot for them. And just when you look at statistics and numbers, there were I think it was 37 total veteran ladies, and I call that 55 and up at Quail Creek, and 12 legacy. And I love legacy. I want to be a legacy shooter.
Nice.
They're getting $1,500 and $1,000, so their payouts are pretty good for those 12 guys. Actually, I think there was one lady. So, I just think it's sort of time that they recognize this group and flesh out the whole lady concurrent a little bit. They do it at nationals. They offer it at regionals in the open. I think they have to have just lady vet. So it's 55 and up, which is fine. But they need to make that a team, not just at those big events. Because, again, I don't mean to harp on legacy, but if they can have one or two legacy, it are smaller events, they can certainly have 3 or 4 lady vets.
Yeah.
It's encouraging. I'm not like, everyone gets a trophy sort of thing, but it's a category that should be respected.
Yeah.
I feel
got
pretty
you
strongly about it.
Yeah.
At nationals, just to show you the lady vets were, over 51 in 2023, just to show you how they're growing. There were 60 in 2024. It should be paid attention to. It's as I said, a rising demographic. But who are we against? Just Mike Wilgus, Will Fennell, Wendell Cherry, Bill McGuire, Super vet James Gilman, Rick Mine, Bert Stelly,
Yeah.
You have to be on your toes and at your best to even get in the top 10.
Right.
Which,
right.
A couple of us can do, but I still look at those other ladies and going, good for you, for getting up there.
Yeah.
And doing it. It takes courage.
Well, and I love it when somebody, like you said, it's not a matter of trophy for everybody. It's recognizing an area that not only is growing, but could be massaged a little bit, just recognize. And that's the whole goal, is to grow the sport, right? We don't want the sport to die. It's the goal as a club owner. There's all this emphasis on helping juniors to be able to afford it and maybe, 30 years down the road, they come back,
Yeah, I mean,
but whatever,
my
but whatever.
favorite is Gary Fitzgerald, and he sort
Yeah,
of brought that up on Facebook. I howled, and I'm
I know,
like,
it's funny.
yeah, I paid for all my kids.
It's so true, though, and so there's a lot of talk about the sport growing, one of the fastest growing sports in the country. Now you're saying also that the women aspect of it is one of the fastest growing, and I absolutely have seen that. And anybody who's in a position of authority in this or administration should absolutely be watching things like that and making tweaks and adjustments every single year.
The
Every year.
numbers are there, and we all know, you bring those ladies along, they bring the kids along, the husbands will shoot more. It's just
Mhm.
a happy thing. It's a good progression, positive.
I know there's so many men on social media that'll be like my dream woman. Whenever there's a woman that shoots or something. I mean, 'cause they absolutely would love most of them. I think, obviously there's men out there that are like, I need a break, right? They don't want their woman coming shooting, but there's a
Yeah.
lot of them that do. And
Well, and there are a lot of all lady groups that, the ladies can feel comfortable. I know in teaching women, I think starting out, a lot of times they just want to be by themselves and sort of feel confident. They didn't grow up, hunting with dad at 6, pinging their 410 at, Tweety Birds or whatever. And, they're a little less aware, you know, how to do it, what's the etiquette, and there's a lot of confidence in having that etiquette down so that you're not getting yelled at by some well-meaning person.
because it can be intimidating for a woman to go into a predominantly male-dominated sport and not have her ducks in a row, right? So it's good
Right.
to feel like you're getting your ducks in a row in a safe environment around women where you can feel like, you're messing up and you're not.
Well, it gives
I
you a
don't know.
little confidence,
Yeah.
and then you can branch out from there. Go to an event, don't worry about the score, just, start getting your feet wet. That's how I was. I mean, I was kinda after doing, the charity events, "Oh, I did really well. Well, I'm going to one of these. I'm gonna do really well." Oh my god, I think my first score was like a 53 out of a
Right.
very deflated. They were tougher targets. And I think too, as you get older, your muscles, your vision, your, whatever doesn't work as well. That's why I
Mhm.
say I love our ladies. I love these ladies that are, just right up there with the big guys. But let's face it, the big guys can shoot a much, bigger load, ounce, in an 1300. You don't see many ladies doing that, and they just have a more physical upper body strength in general. But I just think a little more recognition, and then that to me goes to the veteran ladies of 55 and up, which is
Well, and you and I chatted at Jack Link's about this, and I was like, Isabel, you got to talk to them. You got to talk to the higher ups because Jack Link's personally has said to me and Joe that they're breaking the mold. Like they didn't come in to do what all the other events are doing. They came in to be one of the biggest and baddest events in the industry, and they have done that. Like he literally has that intention. And so we've all witnessed that, and they want to be the biggest, the best, the baddest, and they're proving that every single year, and they're proving it with their improvements every single year, and they're listening and being attentive, and again breaking the mold. So I'm like, Isabel, you've got to talk to somebody, Mike.
he was such a young man. I guess I'm getting old, but
No, so I got Alex,
yeah.
who apparently is one of Jack Link's right-hand men who oversees, in the simplest terms, Jack Link's hobbies. That's how it was said.
I get.
And can you imagine? Joe and I both were like a little jaw dropped when we walked away from that conversation. I'm like,
I just want to know what his hobbies are.
this is one of his hobbies. And how many does he have?
Yeah.
And holy crap, you have a whole slew of staff to help you with your hobbies. How brilliant is that? That's so cool.
Yeah,
But
but
anyway.
like that, did he really listened? And like I said,
Mhm.
those stats speak for themselves. When you have this whole category of ladies, And I know Quail Creek has, some lady groups that are coming out there. And he's got to see them, and they're not, uh, they're 75% or more older ladies. I say older, sort of 50 and up. And so, yeah, it needs to be recognized, respected, and encouraged.
He was super receptive.
He was.
And yeah. And then when I went to talk to Mike about it on Sunday, he's like, I've already heard and we're already doing it. So, I mean, you and I don't know for sure. However, we have been told, and thanks to you, Isabelle, they may be having...
Get on my soapbox a little bit about it sometimes.
Yeah.
Be quiet, be quiet. I'm having fun. I have to remember that.
Yeah. So a woman's veteran category, right? It was veterans that you were looking for?
It would be a concurrent. And I mean, ideally, it needs to come from the NSCA. But big blast shoots, which Jack Link's is the second biggest shoot in the country.
Yeah.
Much bigger than the Open, the regionals. The only thing beating it is nationals, and it's getting close. And when I explained that to him, that there are these categories or concurrents at the bigger shoots, the NSCA shoots, I think that got his attention.
Yeah.
But let's hope it's not only Jack Links who, let's say, was receptive. Let's say some of these other big shoots. I mean, look at Georgia State or, the, some of the big shoots that happen every year. They should be looking into this.
For sure.
Maybe put the pressure on NSCA.
Yeah. Yeah. And, like I was saying earlier, anybody at any level of decision making should be looking at that anyways as the industry continues to grow, which is what we're all aiming to do, is encourage the industry to grow. So as it grows, we need to pay attention and make tweaks along the way. So I'm curious, you did mention upper body strength with men, and definitely sounds like you see that as a primary difference. Do you think that there will start being women HOA, and then once that ground, it reminds me of the person that ran that the fastest mile, and the next thing you know, everybody's doing it, right?
Right. Well, I think the gentlemen are improving too, though. I mean, they're phenomenal. I mean, Brandon, Zach, Anthony. I mean, just out of 200 or 300 targets, only missing, 5 to whatever is just amazing.
Yes.
I, in my heart of hearts, I really want it to happen, but I don't think it's a very consistent happening. I mean, it might happen one in, 1,000 shoots, registered shoots, but, and that would be a phenomenal thing to happen. But I think it needs to be recognized that the, ladies are a separate concurrent and treated with a little more payout money. I've actually, the past couple Virginia State shoots have found sponsorship to increase the purse for the ladies. I mean, significantly, almost to the HOA money, which was my goal. Hopefully I can keep doing that. I just, I think if all of us make an effort in this direction, you'll start to see, reap the rewards. More ladies will start showing up.
I'm following you. So what challenges would you say that you've personally come across along your journey here with clay shooting, and how have you overcome them?
Yeah, I, personally just I've had a lot of fun. I've had some great mentors, met some people. It was just amazing to me that all of a sudden I had this new chapter in my life, that after, kids are sort of grown and gone and doing their thing, I'm like, wow, look at me. I made the first inaugural super squad, a couple years ago. I was like, what? I'm like writing Anthony, help, I don't know what I'm in for, I'm glad they tightened that up, so, and I actually think it would be fun to have the ladies with the men on the super squads. I've gone 4 times. That was my first time, but I've been back ever since. And nobody watches the ladies when the men are going around, or maybe not until the very end for the ladies. And I think if they
Mm-hmm.
were in there, it would be a good PR move, however you want to do it. I
For
like
sure.
a friend of mine who's always on this, and I'm noticing no one's watching this squad. I'm like,
It's true. Yeah, I observed that also. And it would be interesting to hear the thought behind having a men's and a woman's super squad versus mixing them up. Like, I wonder what they believe to be the pros and cons
sure
of
there's
that.
some thinking, and I'd have no idea. I just,
Yeah, I'm sure there is.
as an audience, as a fan, I love watching both.
For sure. I think that would be really cool to
Yeah,
have it half and half on each squad.
exactly.
Not only to increase the visibility for the women shooters, but just for some variety and some interest. And yeah, I think, hey, you're on to something there too. Let's
That's what
contact
it's always been
MSC.
their mine. I don't know where I get all this. I say it's from my mom.
Be like, hey, Neil Chadwick, I know you're listening right now because you have told me you like my podcast. So, Neil, we would like to see the Super Squad mixed with men and women.
Red. Yeah.
Text me when you hear me.
I mean, I can't complain. I've made, all-American teams for the past 10 years. I mean, starting with some sub-gauge, and now I've been on the All-American ladies team for the past 5 years. So, but I like to think of all the other ladies, the ladies I teach, the ladies who are just sort of starting out with this.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I want them to, feel like they're included. But, I just realized I've gone over 100,000 registered targets. So I guess
Wow.
I jumped in both feet when I started.
You could say that. So,
But
what events? So you're clearly going to like the large events and the big
I like
blasts.
doing
What
that.
about regional and local? What do you like to go to?
I mean, my little local one I just love is the Old Forge has one it's near Richmond, has one at the end of every month. It's a great place to go. There's a little place in West Virginia that does a lot of sub gauge. Do a lot of events there, Prospect Hall. Of course, anything that Shenandoah does, either helping or shooting. And, my favorite events, of course, Gator Cup and Night Stalker at Cross Creek was
Uh-huh.
phenomenal. I've been trying to go there for years, and I did last year. And fortunately, my daughter, who, the helicopter pilot, was able to make it too. So, even though
Super cool event.
yeah, it's amazing. It just is awe-inspiring when you see the helicopters landing and
Well, the
the
helicopters, but also at every station, he puts out like a memorial sign with like a bio of the person that was, a Night Stalker, but also now he's combined it with what is it's I guess it's veterans, but I don't remember. The Legion, maybe? He's combined it.
yeah, and the trappers were all military personnel.
Yes.
So it's just such a well-run event. First of all, beautiful facility, but it just overall the feeling is, pretty admirable. But
Yeah,
but making the American teams, you asked me what was sort of my best win or event, and I always laugh at Worlds this past year. Like I usually do sub gauge. I, shot pretty well in the 20 gauge, I thought. And it wasn't a great big score, like a 79 or something. But I'm sort of used to shooting the bigger targets, and I don't think twice that it's a 20 gauge. And I'm like, whoa, I'm holding on to the lead here, in the ladies. And it kept going and going and going. And I won 20 gauge at Worlds, So
Nice.
for me, that was a big highlight. I didn't expect it. And I was second in 28 with another very good score that then I thought, I had like a 90 or something. I thought I was going to win it. And then someone pulled out in front, which,
Yeah, okay, yeah. How does that work for you as far as your mental game? Like if you know that you are on a really great streak or you're in the lead, how do you manage your thoughts around that so you don't become too careful or try too hard or
Well,
expect to win and then
most of all is I do not look at scores of an
Mhm.
event I haven't shot. I mean, that's pretty important to me. I really, really don't even like to see my score while I'm shooting. I mean, we all know how we're shooting. If we're missing 2 or 3, every other station, it's not gonna be a great score. But if you're running a few stations and you only miss 1, then you run 1 or 2 more, maybe a tough station, you miss 2 or 3, but you just keep going. I mean, I approach every station with the same, technicality, enthusiasm, and try my hardest.
Right. Do you
Oh,
ever find that you have gotten your head about it though, and then you've lost your
absolutely. If I'm
momentum?
doing really, really well, again, like, I don't know how those big boys do it, but having, those, sort of scores, and you're on a 90 plus or something, there's no doubt maybe the last 2 stations, I really fail.
Yeah. Yeah.
Miss a few that I shouldn't have, let's say, just because I'm a little tense, a little bit thinking score in my
Mhm. Mhm. There's a shooter that he doesn't live in this area, but he comes down about once a month, once every other month, and he's doing, private instruction with Joe, and it has been, full days, sometimes 2 full days, and, um, he's done my mental training program, he's been a private client of mine, and he's been shooting, at events over those years, but he's now in, best score he's ever got. This was at the Florida Challenge, won several, like, side events, one in his class, like, he's walking away with, I don't know, 5 or 6 trophies, and we're going to dinner with him tonight, and I can't wait to pick his brain because I wanna know, like, what I'm asking you, because he had his best score ever, right? And these were not simple I mean, it's Florida Challenge, it's Bradford targets, I'm
yeah,
sure they
they're
weren't easy,
big
right?
talk. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm dying to pick his brain, like, how did you hold it together, especially when you know this could be my best score, especially when you know you're in the lead or I mean, that's one of the most challenging things. And when I was working more with PJ Tour pros, Noah Begay at one point had said to me, everybody gets on the PJ Tour by having great mechanics, but the ones with the great mental game will be the ones that you consistently see at the top. It's like, it's not a question of mechanics at that point. It's a question of the mental game. And we see it all the time in golf. If like there's somebody who's fairly new to winning and they're in the lead on Sunday morning and they fall apart on Sunday, and it's part of the entertainment of why like a lot of people like to watch golf because are they going to hold it together?
It's true of our sport. I mean, the big
Exactly the
tournaments are
same.
2, 3 days and, holding I think it's a real skill, a gift, whatever. It's a mental toughness. Sometimes weather can be a big factor for us.
Mm-hmm.
Kinda have to let that go and try your best.
Big
But
time.
yeah, I think, the few times I've sort of been in the 90s, I'm always with a fun squad, and I can always remember last station, I'm, like, thinking, "These guys are really good. 90s are nothing for them." And, the one guy whispers in my ear, he goes, "If you run this station, you'll beat me."
Lord,
Oh my god, and I did, and it just made me,
you
like
did? What
did,
happened?
I
Yeah.
ran it. I didn't
Oh
beat it.
gosh.
He just said that.
And it could go either way when somebody says something like
I
that.
know, I know, and I had to laugh. I mean, I think the friendship and the fellowship that you make in this sport is also part of it. If you're not
Uh-huh.
having fun, why are you there?
Yes. Which is another hot topic, I feel. In my book, the last chapter, I say, have fun again. And so this has been a debate and hot topic that I've had with many different people because there are some competitive athletes that are like, I'm not here to have fun. I'm here to win. But there's different ways to look at this word fun. If we look at what is the zone state, and how do we define it and break it down? Well, one of the aspects is it feels euphoric. It feels amazing. I wish it could just continue. I didn't even know I was on the last station. I just felt great. It didn't even feel like it was me pulling the trigger. I wasn't even thinking. It was just happening and they're blowing up, And So
Right.
all that sounds pretty great and pretty fun, right? But the opposite, meaning not in peak performance, not in the zone, is I'm angry, I'm upset, I'm resentful, I'm frustrated, I am doubtful, I'm lacking confidence, I'm trying too hard, I'm doubting. Like none of that's fun until it gets to the point actually when somebody's like, this sucks. I don't even know if I want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And they either consider quitting forever or quitting that game, that event. And so if you just look at fun in a broader sense of it, first of all, peak performance is fun and enjoyable, but also it's the best way to be, because the worst way to be is angry and upset and frustrated and not wanting to be there. Why spend so much time and money and effort on something that you're going to not have fun at?
Well, I've found one way that does help is encouraging your squad mates, by saying,
Uh-huh.
good job, or, we all like to fist punch, that sort of thing. And no matter what you do up there, but, being very positive about that sort of helps you relax when it's your turn in the box, so to speak. I think it was the Dan Carlisle tape I listened to years and years ago about being positive. When you say to somebody, good job, little brain is thinking you're saying that to yourself. Good job. You can stand up
Oh, okay.
for it. And he also, I did do it, and I still run across it, a little index card that says, I'm really good at crossers. And I have it in
Nice.
a drawer that I don't open very often. And I opened it, I'm like, yes, I am really good at crossers, or I'm really good at rabbits or whatever. And
Yeah.
you keep coming across that, and it makes you believe that, but
Well, it's interesting because a lot of people don't understand positive thinking. And because they don't understand it, they don't do it properly. And then they actually stop believing in it. They're like, that doesn't work. I tried it. But like you just gave a few examples. And the thing is you have to believe on some level in that affirmation. Like you can't have an affirmation of, I'm going to win high overall at every major event this year, and have a belief that I'm a woman and that will likely never happen. You can't have that. You could say that affirmation 50 billion times, but if your inner voice is at the same time saying, all right, good luck with that, or no way, you're actually reinforcing the opposite. So you have to have affirmations that are positively stated, present tense, but they must be believable. And so when you tell me that you can open that drawer and see the little note card that says, I'm amazing at crossers, and it makes you smile, and it makes you happy, and it makes you feel good, and it feels believable, then that's perfect. When I first started my hypnosis practice, I was helping people with weight loss, and I had been in my training told to give a suggestion or an affirmation that person should, every day when you look in the mirror, say, I am slim, trim, and healthy. And so at first I did that because that was my training, and I hadn't had my own experience enough for years, to realize that was falling short, because it's absolutely the same thing. If you're 500 pounds, you're looking in the mirror and you're saying, I am slim, trim, and healthy. Like, is that believable? No, I didn't hire me because they're slim, trim, and healthy. So, as I started to understand the mind better and better, I realized it would be better to say something like, every day I feel healthier, I am slimmer, and I'm in better shape, because of the efforts I'm making,
yeah,
because of this,
yeah.
because of that, whatever it is. So I like that you have some affirmations, but also that they're believable for you.
You asked about advice, and to me, one thing in practice to me needs to be very specific. You need to work on certain things. If you're going to practice, you go to practice. And again, you're still having fun, but you're working on
Yeah.
specific, rabbit crosser, as we just said, or, as a chandelle, or, tower shots, which are quite the thing. But if you're going to go meet friends, then go meet friends and sort of let go of, I'm not really
Uh-huh.
scene today. I'm going to have fun. And it's not specific to, you can't interrupt, interrupt that whole group and say, excuse me, I need to, shoot this 25
Right.
times. So you're better off with one or two people that you shoot with a lot, just being there for you and encouraging you and practicing, which is different than, let's go over to Hopkins and, have some fun.
Exactly. And for someone who's competitive, it's good to kind of differentiate that. Like today I'm going by myself and I'm gonna, practice a certain kind of target. I'm gonna perform as if I'm practicing, or I've got a group of people and we're all gonna perform as if wait, I said that wrong. And we're all gonna practice as if we're performing, as if we're in competition. And then a whole nother time, like I'm totally gonna go have fun, which can be tricky for someone competitive.
It
because
does. Yeah, we're competing amongst ourselves as friends.
Right. Yeah. Well, good. Have you, what would you say is your belief system around the concept of it's 90% mental? Because that's controversial also.
No, I think you have to obtain a certain level of competence first. Like you can hit every target out there. These targets are getting bigger and badder all the time. So some of it is practice that we were, talking about, dedicated practice on certain targets. But I'm not going to go with 90%. I would say when you step in the box, it's all mental. You got to step up there like, I can hit these. And maybe they're a little bit out of your field of knowledge, what you've been exposed to or what you've practiced. So you'll get to a point that I love these targets. I mean, specifically, I love rabbits. They all laugh because I'm not very tall, and they say, "Oh, they're just at your level," is why. I walk up there and, "Oh, rabbit, all right, this is mine." And so that sort of confidence is important. And not to say we all miss targets. I'll miss a rabbit. That's that. But the mental game is at the upper levels is truly that 99% because those guys can hit everything.
Yeah.
I admire their mental game.
Yeah, that's something. What about, since you have hunted, and you said you did some bird hunting, how would you describe your intuitive shooting in those moments versus what happens with the clay shooting? Because you don't have a show bird. You can't plan for that shot, but you could likely.
Yeah, I think instinctive shooting is fabulous. I mean, and probably really how I started without any formal instruction. And just like, oh, there it is. It's moving fast or it's slow. And you instinctively, adjust for that. But when you get to this game with that sort of, you need to repeat that performance 3 times, 3 pairs or 4 pairs, that's where the mental game is, to me, I like to say, I like to quiet the chatter. Don't overthink this. I was just so far underneath and I got it. When I start doing that, everything messes up. You're slowing your gun down because you're thinking that or however it goes. I really like Zachary's term of watch it break. To me, it's just like go to it and you move to it instinctively that way, but you have to have a plan. Anthony's pretty much taught me that. I came to him sort of just swinging wildly out there, swing through was maybe, my main way of hitting any target. And he's taught me you need to go up there, look at your show birds, have a plan, as opposed to just like, oh, just throw them, I'll hit them. So that's not going to work, 3 or 4 pairs.
Right. And that is ultimately the difference between shooting instinctively, which we clearly see when hunting, right? Versus, okay, first of all, I do get a show pair, which is helpful, but potentially detrimental, but not to the point where you shouldn't do it. I'm not saying that, but versus a bird that's flying out of the bush, right?
Right.
So you're like, okay, so I got to use my brain. I got to use my mind properly in this situation because you can end up overthinking it. You can end up doubting, oh, I can't shoot that one. You could end up thinking, oh, that's easy, and then being too lackadaisical, not taking it as seriously. Or you could end up trying too hard. You could end up trying to duplicate a shot. Like there's so many things, and those are all mental examples. And you don't have, and those are chatter. That's all there's so many different, there's
Well,
many different ways of
chatter
chatter.
can be personal. It's somebody, a lot of people complain about carts and, or carts running, especially
Could
with
be
bad
anything.
weather. Maybe it's really irritating you. That doesn't bother me so much. People's voices bother me though. It's like, oh, what
Yeah.
did you say? Yeah, ooh, or it's somebody kind of following you, maybe a little too close for your comfort zone, not on your squad. Things like that, I think is the chatter that can take your attention away from, what you need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many, and it depends on the person's personality. Again, going back to women, there are some women that would be like, oh, all these men are watching me. I'm not as good as them. I'm too embarrassed. And then there's other women that if you said that to them, they go, hell no, I don't
Yeah.
care. So it's
I
really the
agree with that a
individual.
lot. I
Yeah.
think that's why we need to encourage them. It's great if they can just get out there with the boys and do it, but not all women are going to do it that way. So let them
Yeah.
start out and be comfortable.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And to me, it's important, to know thyself. You have to figure out like which one of these people are you? Like, is it going to be the cart, the side by side going by? Is it going to be, who you're squatted with? Is it going to be, I don't want to take too long in the stand. I don't want to hold everybody up, or is it because you're doubting your abilities or
Right.
trying too hard? There's so many different ways, but it's important to me to folks to identify what kind of chatter they're having, because it's like a microscope. It's unless you take a look at that, you don't know what you're working on. You don't know what you need to improve. It's no different than your mechanics. Like, why am I missing targets? Like, what am I doing mechanically so that when the next time I see Anthony or the next time I'm in practice, I can work on that. But it's the same with the mind. Like, what am I doing mentally? What part of my personality is showing itself here? And let me look at it, and then let me, talk to my trainer or whatever about it, or work on it in whatever way I can find. But I think that's pretty cool that you've not only experienced, but have the understanding and the awareness of that mental element. There's so many people out there that are still questioning if it even exists, but anybody who's had a bad day or took a phone call that annoyed them and then tried to go into a stand or tried to implement something they just learned, or went back to an old technique because the new technique's not working because they started doubting themselves. Like, there's so many different things, right?
Yeah.
And that's, honestly, why they say it's 90% mental. It's not to say that there isn't mechanics involved, and it's not to say that you don't have to work hard and have a shooting instructor that teaches you the proper technique, and that it's not to say you shouldn't be focused on your process and the details of that and making sure you're doing it. But it's like all of that becomes useless if you're in your head about your score, or you're in your head about an argument you had with somebody, or you're in your head because
Brain's 50% somewhere else.
Yeah.
And you can't focus on the job that you need to do. And when I say focus on the job, I find if I don't think too much about, I need to do this, my hold point's here. Hold point is critical, but if you establish a good hold point, let it flow from there. A lot of these targets are pretty fast. You need to move. I find myself to be a little slower and slower to react that way, but I don't panic. The target passes the gun. I just keep moving, and boom, there it is. I'm like, that was okay. Maybe I could do a little better next time. And I think, you see it a lot. They're very hard on themselves, and they honestly, they just make it worse. I like going, I hit that, and I've never hit that before, or something.
Right. And then that's the chatter again,
Yes.
It's like,
It never ends.
yeah, unless you learn how to manage it. Yeah, that's what will happen. So I do want to tell listeners that if they go to dawngrant.com/free, that they can have access to some free stuff there, whether it's my mental training, my online courses, hypnosis downloads, Mind Mastered app, or even a free golf cart or push cart at my shotgun club. And Isabel, thank you. You swing by my club, I guess,
I love
every time you drive down, right?
Oh, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Really situated where it is. The targets are always good. Just always fits the bill. If you're going down to Florida, that's where you need to go.
It makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I-95 being like one of the primary arteries, and we're just 10
Right.
minutes off of it. So, yeah. So, are you still doing shooting instruction?
I do a little bit. I have a couple ladies who, I can't shoot unless you're with me. A couple gentlemen, bird hunter types. One guy's trying to get into a few of the NSCA events. I said, let's start with the fundraisers because there are a lot around these days that he can go to. But I had leased a property that did get, sold, so I don't have that facility anymore. So it's more, in a couple different places around me that I can do that. But traveling so much and just having fun, seeing the country. I always say to people, I want to go to every state shoot. I did get an email from someone who goes, oh, Hawaii only has 15 entered this year for their state shoot. And I really laughed. I'm like, I'm sure I'll make it to that one.
Oh, well, you need to at some point.
I've been to a lot. I think I'm up to about 15 at this point, but not any out west. So that's my next goal.
Well, there you go. You can start winning some HOAs out there.
I think it's pretty funny, though. I did win HOA. I have to laugh at an event. It was a fundraiser event. I didn't even know it. I was a little late, and my squad waited for me, and it was windy, rainy. It was just awful weather, and we're like, oh, well. And I mean, when you talk about the zone, I just started hitting everything. Didn't matter where
nice.
that bird flew. I was going to hit it. And
Yeah.
they're all kind of like, oh, and the good news is they were quiet. It's not like, wow, you're really doing well. Because, I mean, I think that kind of puts a leash on it, pulls you out of it.
If you don't have a good mental game, for sure.
Yeah. And I was just having fun. And, of course, the last station was rabbits, and I just cleaned that up. And some guys seem to have a thing that they'll never hit a rabbit. And, didn't think too much. I knew I had a good score. Went to the little reception afterwards, and they announced the high overall, men and, have a prize ready. And one of the guys is like elbowing me going, you had a better score than that. And I'm like, I can't say anything. You say something. And he went right up there. He goes, no. HOA was Isabelle with this score. And they didn't quite know what to do with it either, because then I get two prizes, the
Right.
lady and the men. They were little embroidered keychains. It wasn't any big deal, but it was one of those days that I literally, whatever flew out there, made a quick little plan, and that was it.
Nice.
And was able to pull it off.
Nice. Well, do you want to put any information out there for people to contact you related to instruction or anything?
Sure. I mean, they can always reach me on my cell at 540-454-2041. That's the best way you can reach me. Pretty much anywhere around the Beltway I can teach.
Okay.
I'm familiar with all the clubs there, and
nice.
Join them, and that's a great place to practice. Was there yesterday. They have so many towers up right now. It's great.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Okay, cool. What's the one piece of wisdom that you'd pass on to the listeners?
I would just say to remember to have fun and be respectful of your squad mates and the trappers. I like trapping, so I usually like at M&M will volunteer one day. And it's, everybody is invested in it when they walk up into that stand. So whether they're, there's no E class, but, whatever they're D class or just starting out or a bigwig, they sort of deserve the same respect.
Right. Nice. I appreciate that. I agree with that. And definitely see that would be important. Well, thank you, Isabelle. I really enjoyed chatting with you, getting to know you, and the insights you've had, especially related to women in the sport and the impact that you're having on the sport and women in the sport. So
it needs to be encouraged, and it's a failing in all sports with women right now. But the Kate Clark, Michaela Schifrin just got her World Cup win in skiing. Our American women are phenomenal on the world stage, but here our media doesn't give it much credit, unfortunately.
Well, hopefully we're getting there.
Thank you for joining us on Clay Mastermind with Dawn Grant. Mental excellence and industry insights. Brought to you by the Clay Lab. We hope you found today's episode inspiring and informative. Remember, mastering the mental game is key to unlocking your full potential on the course. And through our conversations with industry leaders, we aim to provide you with valuable insights into the world of clay shooting. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow, rate, and share it. For more insights, training tips, and updates on upcoming events, Dawn Grant and Amelia Shotgun Sports are on all social media platforms. Go to dawngrant.com and come shoot at Amelia Shotgun Sports. Stay focused, stay driven, and keep pushing your limits. Until next time, Dawn wishes you success and happiness on your journey to peak performance and industry mastery.